Okay, so the Brooklyn Nets have been taking some L's for the past week or two, and let's kind of address them real quick. So, number one, we already know about Lamarcus Aldridge with the regular heartbeat in the situation that he already retired from the Brooklyn Nets organization. So, the Nets have lost a big. They're going to rely more on DeAndre Jordan. Now, Nicholas Claxton will get more minutes, and throw Blake Griffin at the 5 from time to time. Lamarcus Aldridge is out of there, and not only is he an ideal big for them, but he's a locker room presence and a veteran in the league, playing around 15 years and above. Now, he's not a great defensive big, but you still want his presence out there, so that was a big L for them. The next story we did see when the Brooklyn Nets were playing against the Miami Heat that Kevin Durant injured himself, and he's probably going to be out for at least another week or two. This is around Kevin Durant's second or third injury within this season, and starting to scratch your head about Kevin Durant. He's going to be durable coming off that Achilles injury and coming up pretty quick. So who knows about that? And then lastly, you do have James Harden pretty much with his hamstring. He's going to be out indefinitely, and there's not a direct timetable for his supposed return. Now, there was some speculation that right before the playoffs or a week or two before the playoffs that he could potentially return within that range, but still to be determined in that range. Where does that leave the Brooklyn Nets as of right now? Well, ever since the James Harden injury, Kyrie Irving and the crew, they have 1-1 and 1 loss. And as we saw, the Brooklyn Nets just fell to the Toronto Raptors, losing 114 to 103, despite Kyrie Irving's near triple-double. You're in a situation, if you're Brooklyn, man, these are huge L's within the past week or two. Not just with your team roster, but internally and psychologically. Because this team does not have any true alpha leaders within their franchise. We've seen Kyrie Irving try to be that quote-unquote alpha leader with Boston, and then that first stint with Brooklyn was not ideal. It was actually the opposite of chaos and toxic and more of an egotistical type of thing. Kevin Durant, he's proven to be a beta and not an alpha, especially when he joined the Golden State Warriors, and so on and so forth. Him still going on with his burner accounts, and pretty much we know what Kevin Durant. He's a mama's boy. He's very insecure about himself. I'll leave it at that. And I think James Harden is pretty much the most of an impact player out there. He can be a diva from times. He could be a hardhead. But James Harden in this situation with all these three players together, they're gonna have to juggle. They have to juggle from time to time to be that quote-unquote leader. And that's why I've always stated you need to bring in that veteran presence. And good thing they brought in, well, within the time period, Lamarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Iman Shumpert, Andre Roberson. But we know what happened with those signings and then the retirement from Lamarcus Aldridge. Steve Nash is your head coach, and he's a rookie. So you're talking about true leadership and a dominant masculine presence. It's not to be seen with the Brooklyn Nets. That's why I expect more flimsy and I can expect some stories, some drama, let alone for them to have chaotic endings to some games where they'll blow some leads, and there's no structure within the organization, within the team. That's how I see it on a three-dimensional basis. You do have Mike D'Antoni as an assistant coach. Now, he's great on the offensive side of things, but there's no backbone for the Brooklyn Nets. Now, they do have a super team. They do have super talents with James Harden, KD, and Kyrie Irving. They're bringing in great players off the bench and, some shooters like Joe Harris out there. The Brooklyn Nets, when healthy, should be a top favorite to win the NBA championship. But if I'm looking at the alpha presence, if I'm also looking at the masculinity within a structure of an organization, I'm leaning always towards the LA Lakers with LeBron, Frank Vogel, and Anthony Davis. Now, the Brooklyn Nets in this scenario, this is scary, man, especially entering the playoffs, because if Kevin Durant and or James Harden is going to be hurt by that time period, that's not ideal whatsoever. Kyrie Irving cannot lead your team to get you wins from time to time on a consistent basis. You'll have a big night once every 3 games, but he's not consistent like that. Teammates will not gravitate towards Kyrie Irving if he's the main guy. And especially with Kyrie Irving, he's not durable as well. Brooklyn Nets are in a heap of situation. They need to bring in another big within their franchise. And besides from that, you just have injuries. If this team is fully healthy, they're going to be a threat. They will be a threat. But when push comes to shove in the playoffs, I believe they're going to have some trouble against the Miami Heat and potentially with the Philadelphia 76ers for a bit. just for a bit because of Philadelphia's size. But besides that, you should feel good if you're the Miami Heat. You should feel good if you're the Philadelphia 76ers and potentially the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks due to Brooklyn's injuries and kind of the chaos that's been going on their side of things. But I won't dive too deep into there. Let's see the timetables for James Harden and Kevin Durant and go on from there.